Hello, I'm Diane Johnson. Today's video I'm going to be talking a little bit about racist vegans. I want to make one thing perfectly clear. This is not a condemnation on veganism or all vegans as a whole. There are many vegans out there that are wonderful people that are not racist at all. This is merely just going to be calling out some assholes and explaining a bit about why they're wrong. There are several, mostly white vegan accounts that will attack indigenous people for simply hunting and eating meat, which, keep in mind, they need to do in order to survive. You see, these are people who have had their entire who have pretty much had most of their culture stolen from them, who are pretty much forced to live on shitty reservations, who are still kept in relative poverty. The average Native American's income in the U.S. is around $11,317 a year. Well, actually, a month. Which, when you factor in, it depends on where you live, is anywhere from $1,244 to $1,280. Now, to be fair, this is just a rough estimate. But here's the thing. These are people who are forced to live with poor healthcare, poor education, poor pretty much everything. Yet they have some white kid on Twitter whining and crying at them for keeping one little thing from their culture that was robbed from them. And here's the thing. This thing that, as I've said before, they need to live. And while, yes, factory farming is terrible, actual hunting in the indigenous culture is actually a fairly gentle and very good technique. They have to kill the animals humanely. And they usually stop for a second to give pause and thanks for the animal sacrifice and use every part of the animal. Now, keep in mind, I am not an expert in this scenario. If I've gotten anything wrong, I would love to be corrected. And you are indigenous, please correct me if I'm wrong. But here's the thing. The way some of these fucking vegans talk about indigenous folks and other people of color, it's just freaking awful. A article from, I believe, Medium that I will link down below, as well as some other ones, actually did a pretty damn good job talking about how how white veganism doesn't actually care about colonialism, but just the most obvious benefiter, which is the current U.S. meat industry, which I will say, as a person who's not vegan, is fucking horrible and does need to die in a fire. Other thing is that these people clearly just care about looking good instead of actually being good, because if they did care about being good, they'd, put 5 minutes of research into finding out why hunting is so important to many indigenous cultures, which they have access to an internet connection. This isn't that hard. Look, to any of you virtue-signaling white vegans out there, please shut the fuck up. And by the way, when I say white vegans, I don't mean vegans who are white. I mean vegans who subscribe to this particular brand of veganism of, basically harassing anyone who isn't a vegan and saying often really racist shit about indigenous folks. etc., etc. That's the video of the day. Bye.